Welcome into the Do Hard Things Today podcast. I am Jed Blackwell here with Perfect Dopey, Kevin Harrison, who, as promised, is going to take us through some strategies for the absolutely insane thing that he's about to undertake here in just, a matter of a couple of weeks now. Yeah, a little more than a month, I guess.
Yeah, and that's all I've got, man. Perfect Dopey. You know, it was I was on one of the perfect there's actually a page that's just for the Perfect Dopeys, because we're an exclusive breed.
Right.
And this time
not to brag.
Yeah. This time of year we always start joking around with people of, hey, this year would be a good year for some of y'all to just take a break. Because we all look, here's the thing about our group, and there's not a lot of us left that are perfect. That means we've done all of these Dopey challenges, but we are always rooting for each other. We don't want anybody to get injured. We want everybody that wants to do it to be able to get to the finish line. But, every year there's, 30, 50 or so that don't do it, either don't sign up or for whatever reason, and it just makes that number even smaller for the Perfect Dopeys. So, it'll be interesting. I always, a couple of days after you look, and we got a guy inside one of the groups. He does all the work to get everybody's information in there and figure out, okay, who's left for the Perfect Dopeys. But, man, it's going to be looking forward to it, man. We got some cold weather here. We're in the upstate of South Carolina, and that's one of the things that you always know that you're going to face at Disney. You just don't know what kind of weather you're going to get. It's been literally freezing cold, and then sometimes it's mid-90s, and you're just, dying out there of heat. So, yeah, looking forward to it, man. We're kind of getting on the, we're getting on the downslope of it, and we promised we'd give you about 3 or 4 podcasts leading up to it. So, yeah, man, it's time.
We talked about strategies, and I know you're going to talk about that today, but first, how do you get your mind around the fact that you've got to do all 4?
Yeah, it's for first timers, that's the hardest thing and you're not prepared for it. For first timers, there's really nothing you can do to be completely prepared for what you're about to take on. For super early mornings, yeah. When we say super early mornings, for most people that means 5 a.m. wake up. Mm-hmm. No. For we're talking about 2:45, 3 o'clock. You're getting up and you're getting on a bus, riding over to Epcot. Walking into a corral with, depending on the race you're in, upwards of 20,000 people of your closest friends there. So this big, huge spectacle. And then some of the races are starting at 4:30 in the morning now. Wow. And so, it's really hard for first timers. And, first timers, always encourage them of, take it one day at a time and don't get overwhelmed. Try not to spend just a tremendous amount of time in the park. Try to get a little rest. Try to let your feet rest, because when you start on Sunday morning and you're standing at the line of a marathon and you have run a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon over the last 3 days, you're going to be tired. Your body's going to be tired. Mentally is that place that's really, really tough, because you're like, holy cow, I'm about to have to run a marathon and my legs are already exhausted. No taper, no anything that you usually have for a usual marathon. And so it's just, you have to take it, one race at a time. And then when you get to that marathon day, literally break it down to 1 mile at a time. And no matter what kind of condition, there will be points in time where you feel like you can't run anymore, and you just need to walk some people will walk the entire thing. Whatever you're doing, just take it 1 mile at a time. Click a mile off, then go click another mile off, then another mile. And then the next thing you know, we talk about on this podcast, do hard things today and tomorrow will take care of itself. Well, if you'll get that next mile done, well, then you'll get into the next mile, and that next mile will take care of itself. So sometimes you got to trick yourself.
Getting into the strategies a little bit, I guess there's got to be a completely different mindset about the way you go about things. But if you want to start with that, if you've never run, if this is your first time in the marathon, it's what you want to excel at. If you make up your mind, hey, I'm going to kill this marathon, how does that strategy play out?
Yeah, so I think there's four distinct strategies of tackling the Dopey Challenge. And for those of you, again, most people do know, but the Dopey Challenge this is at Walt Disney World, and this is their crown jewel event. On Thursday, that you run a 5K. On Friday, you run a 10K. On Saturday, you run a half marathon. And then on Sunday, that culminates with the full marathon. One of the distinct strategies And I've used all of these over the entire 12 years of doing the Dopey challenge. I've tried all of these. So I'm going to speak from a little bit of experience and some of the things I've seen other people think. The marathon being your A race strategy. What that means is you're putting all your apples in the marathon basket. And if you're going to do that, really the 5K, you can kind of go out there and run a 5K like you would normally run it. I mean, you don't want to go out and try to set a world record, on the 5K, but go run the 5K. That's on Thursday. On Friday, that's the 10K day. Go out there and kind of take it easy. If you do some run walk, stop for some of the character stops and those kind of things. All the time you're making sure you're staying really hydrated. I definitely want to say that your nutrition's got to be on point. Even on that 5K day where you may not feel like you need to be taking in nutrition or electrolytes, make sure you're taking in the electrolytes and nutrition. 10K day, again, you're taking it kind of easy that day. If you want to run the whole thing, fine, but just kind of take it easy. Don't maybe you may run a minute slower than what your normal 10K pace is. Just to kind of, again, remember what the goal is. On this one, the goal is to be ready for the marathon. The key to the marathon, if you're wanting to do that, is what you do on Saturday during the half marathon. And if your goal is to be somewhat fresh for the Sunday marathon, you're going to have to do a whole lot of walking on that half marathon day. And so you got 13 miles. The good thing about Disney is there are a ton of characters. There's entertainment on the course, all those things. I would encourage you to take that race. You can jog a little bit, walk some, go stop at the character spots. Make sure you're taking in your hydration during the race. Make sure you're not getting dehydrated at all. But just take it easy. You got to walk the whole thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Sometimes we get so caught up with Strava and these different tracking apps that we was like, well, I don't want to have a 3-hour half marathon out there. My friends will make fun. Nobody cares. Nobody's looking at your data. Go out there and walk, jog, take in the character stops, because when you do that, you got to wait in line for them. So that gives you a little bit of a break. And I would encourage you this. If you're going to take this strategy, do the character stops early. Now, Jed, why would I say it's important to do them early?
Because you're not expending as much energy early and you've got a little bit of a reserve.
Yes, that's one of the reasons. And the second reason is if you'll go ahead and get those character stops in early, it's going to go ahead and it's going to ruin your half marathon time.
Yep.
Once you go ahead and ruin it, then you're like, okay, I can slow down. I don't care if I walk. I don't care what my half marathon time is. You're not worried about it at that point.
If it's out of the realm of possibility, you can't try to do it.
Yep, you can't try to do it. So then that way it's like, okay, my half marathon day is about preparing me for Sunday. And so you're going to hydrate. You're going to make sure your nutrition's on point. You're going to walk a lot. You're going to, and when I say walk, you ain't got to, don't be out there power walking. Don't just walk. You're probably, if you're in a spot where you're going to be making a run at a really good marathon, you're probably not going to be starting at the very back with the balloon. Like, you're going to have time to do these things. And so you're going to, really just walk. There's a difference in a power walk and just a stroll out there. And you're going to need to be doing a lot of strolling and a lot of just taking it easy. Jog a little bit, do like a jog walk. And when I say walk, not the power walk that you're doing when you're trying to keep your times up, but just jog just a little bit, because it's a different group of muscles. And then walk for a little bit, stroll around, go to the characters, those kind of things. Not worried about your time. You'll finish after the half marathon. Make sure you're hydrating, make sure you're taking in some good nutrition, make sure you're stretching. And on that Saturday, now if you're just dying to go to the parks, Thursday, Friday, those are some days you can do that. On that Saturday, I would encourage you to go home, go back to the resort or whatever, take a shower, whatever you want to do, eat a really good breakfast. That morning's a really good morning to schedule like a breakfast buffet at Disney, one of the Boma or Chef Mickey's or something like that. And then go out to a park, spend a couple hours walking, getting that making sure your blood's still flowing in your legs so you don't get really, really sore. But then sometime in early afternoon to mid-afternoon, you make your way back to the resort. If your family's with you, let them go do what they want to do. You make your way back to your resort. Get your legs up. You don't have to go to sleep, but just rest and make sure you're still hydrating and all those kind of things. And I think that's the best way to prepare you for going into that marathon. And when you get up in the morning, and this is really, really hard mentally, but you have to act like you haven't done anything up to that point. You're looking at, hey, this is a marathon I'm going out to. Don't think about, oh, man, I've already done 3 races. Oh, man, I'm not going to be. No, try to treat it like I'm going out and I'm running an independent marathon. And that I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying if you're going to use that, if that's your strategy where the marathon's your A race, I believe that's the best way to try to be successful.
All right, well, let's go to the absolute other end of the spectrum. Let's go to people who are going to stop at every character stop, who are not taking these races. Not that they're not taking them seriously, because if you're signed up to run a half followed by a marathon, you're taking things pretty seriously. Yeah. But the races are not the end-all, be-all. They're going to go to the parks every day. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to stop at every character stop. What's the strategy for the folks who just love Disney or just down there to have a good time running? Yeah,
I'll say a couple of things. And this, a lot of people do this. This is a lot of people like to go and they're, hey, it's Disney. I mean, you pay a lot of money to do this.
Right.
And so there's a lot, there's characters out on I remember when you did your first one, Jed, I couldn't wait. And when the way we start, this is your first one, so you were starting at the very, very back.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it was 5K day, and so I was at the first corral, so I was done before y'all even started because there's so many people. But I remember I couldn't wait. I was like, I got to get back over there so I can tell Jed, who's out there on the course.
Yeah.
There were some characters that you just don't see. Big, and in fact, I think that time it was the big bad wolf.
That was what I was about to say. Yeah, he was the main one.
Yeah, and I had never seen him before. Yeah. In all my time running, I'd never seen the big bad wolf out there.
I think Clarabelle Cow was out too.
Yeah,
there were a couple.
They bring out every year. They bring out some random Disney characters that you just never see. I mean, you think, well, Mickey's the big deal. Well, Mickey is a big deal. But you see Mickey when you go to the parks, too. You see a lot of characters. And so for this, a couple of cautionary tales is, number one, you still, now outside of the 5K, it's not a time thing. But in the other races, you've got to maintain that 16-minute pace or they will sweep you off the course. So you got to know where you are. And for a lot of people, what they'll do if this is their strategy is, they will not worry. They'll take what I said in the last strategy is on that half marathon, go to the character stops early because you want that half marathon time to be out of where you're not even worried about it anymore. For this, I would say the opposite. Skip the first few character stops, especially now. It depends on where you're starting. These races start in corrals. If you're starting at one of the back corrals, those first few character stops are going to have enormous lines because everybody's there. They get spread out as you go, but those first few ones they got a lot of lines. I would encourage you to get a little bit ahead of the clock. And what I mean by that is it's not 16 minutes from the time you start. It's 16 minutes from the time the last person starts, which usually is the balloon ladies. Here's what that means. So let's say you're in the half marathon. So in the half marathon, in the pace you've got to maintain. If you multiply 16 by 13, that's 208 minutes. So that's 3 hours and 28 minutes. Okay, so Kevin, are you telling me if I do it in 3 hours and 29 minutes that it doesn't count? No, it absolutely counts. Only thing you have to do is stay in front of the balloon ladies. So if you start 30 minutes in front of the balloon ladies, which is it's about an hour-long start process. People will start at 4:30, and you'll have people going off about 5:30. If you're 32 minutes to make it even ahead of the balloon ladies when you start, you have an extra 2 minutes that you can. So that's 32 minutes over that 13 miles. Well, that gives you 2.5 minutes more per mile. So as long as you average 18.5 minutes, in your time, then you're going to be fine. I would encourage people to bank a little time early. What I mean by that is maybe not stop for the character stops the first couple of miles. Bank a little time early so you can relax. And then that way you got plenty of time to stop and you're not stressed out about it. And then you can see a million different. Now, caveat to that is if there's a character you're dying to see, stop wherever it is. But bank a little bit of that time and then go just see everything. The other caution I would give is, now, again, when you're hearing this, it's going to be really hard to make up a whole lot of training. But there are a lot of people, and you see them every year. They come to Disney to do these things, and they think, hey, it's Disney. I can walk a 16-minute mile. We said it before. Yeah, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three. 48.6. That's what's on the menu for this thing.
And that's if you don't take another step in the parks.
Correct. And you're going to walk 10 miles in the park. At least one day you're going to walk 10 miles in the park. So, you just want to manage your expectations on that and know that it's still, if you go out and you walk all 48 miles at a 16-minute pace, that's still a monumental undertaking.
Right. That's
50 miles on your feet. So just, again, keep yourself hydrated. Don't, try to not go spend all day in the park every single day, and especially on that Saturday, try to get a little bit of rest, try to get your feet up, because Sunday can be the most exhilarating thing you ever do, the finish, or it can be a long, miserable day.
Well, that's two strategies, so I imagine there are kind of two in the middle.
Yeah, there's two in the middle, and the one I like more than any is the marathon, making the marathon your A race. And what that means is, like, you might run the 5K like you normally would. 10K day on Friday, you're going to take it easier, probably a lot of walking, you don't have to walk, but just jogging. Again, maybe keeping that pace about a minute, slower than it normally is. And then you show up for the half marathon and you just go attack. And you go and you run that half marathon as hard as you can, get a really good time. I'll say this, that it does make for a tougher Sunday. And again, you got to manage your expectations. And sometimes runners are kind of type A people. And so you run that half marathon and go run a really good time. Well, guess what? You're feeling really good about yourself. You're like, oh man, I feel good. You know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to run tomorrow. I'm going to run the full, and I'm going to see what kind of time. And all that sounds great until you're about 6-7 miles in, and then those legs catch up with you, because all that hard running for that 13 miles makes it tough. It is running hard for a shorter distance of time will make you sore than going out and jogging or walking the whole marathon distance. So you just got to be ready for what that's going to lead to on Sunday. But I like doing that for the half marathon, where you run your 5K, take it easy on the 10K, go hard on Saturday, and run, try to get you a good time, because at that point you're still not the magnitude of the 48. When you finish the half marathon, you're not even halfway done.
Right.
When you look at the 48.6 miles, you're not even halfway there yet.
You got about 5 more miles to do than you've already done cumulatively.
Yep. And so it gives you a win, makes you feel good about yourself, and then you go into Sunday feeling pretty good and some confidence to be able to go out and do what you need to do. And a lot of times then you can take that Sunday and go out and enjoy the course, stop for some characters, get some pictures that you want to get, and that kind of thing. And so I really like that strategy. I think that's probably my favorite strategy.
What's the last one?
Yeah,
the worst one.
The last one is what I think is the worst strategy. And I tried to do this one time, and I found out real quick, but it's taking every race as its own race. You're treating the 5K like your local 5K, that you're going to show up and you're going to run hard and you're going to try to PR on the 5K. And then the next day you get up on Friday morning, still feel good, a little bit, stretch out a little bit, but you're still feeling good. Go out and run that 10K, hard as you can run. Try to get a PR in it. Hey, if you're in good shape and you've been running a lot, coming off that Friday, you're still feeling good. All you've done at this point, you run a 5K on Thursday, you ran a 10K on Friday. So you show up half marathon time, and you go out and it's like, okay, you wake up that morning and you've got some soreness, because again, like we just said, when you run really hard, that lactate threshold builds up and it causes soreness. I mean, it just does. So you're going to have some soreness, but you'll get out there and you're like, okay, I'm going to run. I'm going to take off. So you gut through the first mile. That soreness kind of works itself out, and you're taking off and you're like, man, I'm going to kill this thing. And you get out, you get 6, 7, 8 miles in, and you're heading back. You know, you've gotten all the way down to Magic Kingdom, and you're on that road coming back, and all of a sudden it just jumps up like a bear on your back and grabs you. And you're like, holy cow, man, I'm on the struggle bus right here. My legs they're full of lactic acid. They are sore, and I'm in for it. So you may gut it out and finish that, get that half marathon full. But let me tell you something. When you wake up Sunday morning, you're in the hurt locker, man. I mean, you're on the struggle bus because you're so sore. Because again, when you run really hard, whether it's a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, that lactic acid builds up. It causes soreness, and you're going to get up on that Sunday, and you're going to be spent, and you're going to be on that bus going out on Sunday morning, standing there, and you're going to be thinking, man, what in the world? That was a horrible idea. I should have listened. To that dude on that podcast that said that was a crazy idea to do. But you know, then you just go out and you have to manage that Sunday. Again, take off and do what you can. Go as hard as you can. But that strategy usually leads to a pretty tough Sunday at Walt Disney World.
Well, that gives us a look at the ways you can approach this thing. Our next couple of podcasts, what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we'll be talking about, you know, if you are going to, you know, what are some park strategies that you may want to have, you know, and then really just, you know, leading up to the very last one, we'll have, you know, we'll talk about, you know, some of the experiences. I want to hear your experiences, because we have a lot of people that listen that are doing the 5K, 10K. I want to hear about your experience with the 5K. We'll have your wife on to talk about her experience with the half marathon, or the almost half marathon last year that got lightninged out. Have my wife on talking about her. She'll be doing the half marathon this year. Be her second Disney race ever. But we'll talk about some of, you know, just some of those things of what to look for, and especially for those people that are coming for the first time, the real logistics of how do you get around. It can be really, really overwhelming. Surprisingly, especially if you're staying on Disney, it's really, really simple.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can drag yourself out of bed and get your clothes on, and you can stumble from your room to the bus stop in front of your resort,
you'll be fine.
Yeah. Now, that's a big ask some mornings, but if you can do that, you're going to be fine. But we'll talk through all those logistics, what security, you know, what to expect after the race, the medals, all that kind of stuff. And so we'll give you at least 2 more of these before we're strapping them up, and that will be here before you know it. And I would just say, you know, if you've been struggling and you haven't been running like you should be, don't jump in and think you can make it all up. But what you can do is you can do what you can do right now. And I would encourage you to go out and start walking, get some time on your feet, you know, and don't go super crazy at Christmas. You don't want to gain 10 pounds in December, because that's just going to make it harder in January. So try to watch those things and just get some time in on your feet. And when you get down there, you'll be surprised at how your mind can help you push through some of those things. Because if you'll do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.